And welcome back to the Spring Spirit Drive here on Holy Family Radio. This is Deacon Jeff Compton. I'm pleased to welcome into the studio Father Dave Cirata. He is currently the interim I'll let you say it. What your title is?
My assignments are a little complicated at this time, but starting July 1st, I was named as the pastor of St. John's, St. John the Evangelist in Defiance. And then Father Randy Giesige at St. Mary's had some little health problems, so he decided that if he could step away from being the pastor, but he could still be the associate, the parochial vicar, that would be, he would be able to handle that. So the bishop called me and asked me if I would be willing to be the parochial administrator of St. Mary's. So I am doing that, and then I also I'm a consultant to the Office for Divine Worship of the diocese, which means I do some visits with churches that are doing some renovations. So I get to help them to work through those systems. So I got a little bit to do. So it keeps me out of trouble.
Hey, you know what? Keeping busy is a good thing, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Especially if you're focused on the right things when it comes to that. So, so let's talk a little bit about that divine worship thing. Was it just renovation? I mean, renovation work, or is that what it is now?
That's what it is now. Up until coming to Defiance, so up until July 1st of last year, I was the director of the Office for Divine Worship and pastor of a couple parishes in Toledo. And I did that, I think, 4 or 5 years. But with the new assignment, it just was a little bit too much to be running the office and then also taking care of a parish in Defiance, being an hour away from Toledo. So talk with the bishop and Mr. Dan Dembski, who, if you ever go to a cathedral liturgy, the bishop comes to your parish, you usually see him there as the bishop's right-hand man. He's very well qualified and was able to take over as the director of the office, and so then I'm able to work with people, parishes that if they're doing any kind of renovation. I'm able to come and make a visit and help them. I always tell them my job is to make sure that when you finally write that letter to the bishop asking permission, that he'll say yes to it. There's no surprises there. So it's a lot of fun. It's great to be able to get out and to visit, a lot of parishes too, because I probably have no other reason to be going there.
Is there a lot of that going on? It
just depends. It runs. For some reason, it seems to run in spurts. I don't know if there's something about raising funds or things like that. So right now, I've visited a couple parishes kind of throughout the diocese that are doing some small, just little, maybe you'd call them upgrades to like the sanctuary area. Do a new crucifix, or maybe a lot of parishes have been placing their tabernacles on what we would call the central axis, so it's right behind the main altar. And so just some of those, so those aren't major projects that they have to raise millions of dollars to do. But I was involved with came down a couple of times for St. Mary's when they did a major. We've done a major renovation there very recently. It's beautiful, but so it goes the length of that. Or I was in Mansfield at St. Peter's and they did a very large renovation project. So it runs the gamut of, we want to put a new crucifix up in our sanctuary, to, we need to, we're going to gut the whole place and do something big. So it is. So that kind of makes it interesting too, because you just never know what you're going to get.
You never know what's
and I never know when the phone or the email is going to come in saying, "Hey, can you come out and visit? Because I want to talk about this." We don't have a regular schedule that this deanery is allowed to start doing renovation projects during the months of April and May. And nope, it's just whenever each individual parish is ready to do that.
Now, does that involve saying yes or no to something that they can do, or is it more like pay attention to this detail?
Yes, it's more of that consulting thing that, and I usually am pretty clear with people. It's like, I'm trying to kind of guess what the bishop might think on things. I don't have any kind of great insight into, and I always tell them, sometimes when I guess, I'm usually wrong about something that I think, it's like, I'm not sure he's going to like this. And then I show it to him. He's like, oh, that looks great, versus something I think, oh, this will be easy. And then he'll be like, oh, what have they thought about doing this, or this? So I'm kind of the middleman that way. So I can go, and I know there are some basic, just basic criteria that places would have to follow. So, I don't know. I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but if someone, suggested or had me come and visit, and they're like, well, we're planning on doing, something, really kind of strange, I said, well, you might want to rethink that, But when it comes down to all the details, then that's more. And if the bigger the project is too, this has happened occasionally too, as someone gets a design for a major renovation, I'll be in on the meeting. They'll come up and present it to the bishop and get feedback so that they can then finish the design to submit to him. So something small, it's usually not, that's not the process. I can kind of guide them through that. They'll write the letter. The bishop will say, did you see this project? And I'll say, sometimes I've even talked to him beforehand, just saying, here's what they're planning on doing. He's like, oh, okay, that looks great. And usually too, he always has great suggestions on things too. That's why he's the bishop. That's why he's the bishop. Exactly. So I'm just his helper.
Okay, so the parishes in Defiance then. Yes. Tell us a little bit about those.
It is kind of interesting. They're about half mile away from each other. So they're both kind of
really close
in town.
Yeah.
St. John's was the first parish, and then the community outgrew that church, and they came to decision time whether they wanted to build like a bigger church, or there was some desire that St. John's was established by mostly German immigrants.
Okay.
And so as more, I think, Irish immigrants came in, they talked, and this would have been back with the Bishop of Cleveland. It wasn't even, the Toledo Diocese didn't exist yet. Ooh. And so they talked to the Bishop of Cleveland, and I think it might have been his suggestion. It's like, well, maybe it's just time to start a new parish, have two parishes in town. And so they're very close geographically, I guess demographically they're very similar too, obviously. Mm-hmm. And they're size-wise, they're very similar too. Mm. So it is kind of a unique situation that way.
Yeah.
So I would say that just being there a little bit, they do have maybe their slightly different personalities that they've developed over the centuries. Mm-hmm. Because I think we just celebrated, 125 years of our church building at St. John's, and the St. Mary's is getting ready in the next couple of years to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the parish.
Okay.
And so they've been around. Yeah, these places have both been around for over 100 years. And I always feel like, especially like St. Mary's does have a wonderful food pantry. A very active St. Vincent de Paul Society. They work with the furniture bank in town. Now, a lot of the people from St. John's either volunteer or make donations to it too. So it's kind of like the community one, but they've kind of focused on that. It does seem like, for whatever reason, St. John's has a little bit more, I guess, of the personality for maybe kind of just youth ministry or families and things like that too. So they all do they do the same things in parish life, but they each have their own little tweaks that are going on.
Right.
So it's always interesting to see that. And every parish, I think, has that. They have things that have developed over the course of time that they've embraced and have, developed, and that's great.
Yeah, it is. So when I think about two parishes so close to each other, and we talk about where someone's domicile is, right, is kind of, how does that work out? How do you know that you belong to this parish and that parish? And
I'm not sure exactly. I haven't looked to see exactly how the parish boundaries are drawn.
Yeah.
But yes, when you go strictly by church law, that's how parishes in our diocese are set up. There's probably a small number of parishes that don't have that. I'm thinking of, I think St. Joseph's maybe in Toledo, downtown Toledo, because they celebrate the extraordinary form. They've been designated for that, so I'm not sure that they are a territorial parish in the same way. Or even and the only other one I could think of maybe now is St. Peter and Paul in Toledo too, is serves the Hispanic population. So they celebrate Mass in Spanish. Not that other parishes don't, but they've been kind of designated in the Toledo area to provide that ministry. So I'm not sure that they would be as much of a geographical parish. So, but most people now, we don't enforce that. You'll hear people talk about, especially, if you talk to your grandparents or something like that, they'll say, they went to church and the pastor said, "Where do you live?" And they said, "Here." And they said, "No, you can't come here. You got to go, you can't come to St. Mary's. You got to go to St. John." So because we don't, we don't operate that way. And, starting July 1st, I'll be pastor of both. So it's just kind of like, it doesn't matter to me. Come wherever, just come to church. I'm not, whichever one you like to come to, you come to. That's fine with me.
That's right. You can't run away from Father Cirata.
Well,
exactly. Now, right?
Well, I joked. I said, if there was ever any kind of competition between the two parishes, I said, when they both have the same pastor, all that's going to disappear. They can't boast that they have the better pastor or anything like that.
That's right.
I said, when they have the same crazy one, they won't know what to do. I said, they can commiserate that.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Hey, you're listening to the Spring Spirit Drive here on Holy Family Radio. I don't know if I've heard that phone ring yet, so I want to encourage you to pick up the phone and donate. Offer your best pledge, your best gift to keep this ministry going and growing at 888-287-0655. That's 888-287-0655. Speaking with Father Dave Cirata, going to be the pastor in Defiance for both of those parishes there, and it's great that that you could come down and join us here in the studio today, because Defiance is kind of on the fringe area of our listening area, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, and I will say this, that originally I would tune in on my radio, and I found that there were times where it was more difficult to. So I downloaded the app also, like you had said, and that's what I listen to every morning. That's usually I flip that on as I'm getting ready. So I'll catch the end of the Rosary, whether it's Mother Angelica or Father Groeschel, and then go to the Sunrise Morning Show and go from there. So I enjoy it, and other times there's other things I'm able to listen to too. So I find all throughout my priesthood, I've been very supportive of Catholic radio, because I think it does provide a great ministry for people. It's able to do some things that the parish can't do, and I know some of the programming too, especially I'm thinking probably in terms of Catholic Answers Live and things like that, where you get the apologetics, or people can ask questions, or even the Bishop's Corner. I listen to that all the time too. That provides a great forum for people to get information that, and they may not be able to get that as easily in their parish situation.
Sure.
It's like that, or their question is answered maybe in a more timely manner. And I always think I learn a lot when I listen to those things too. It's like, oh, okay, so now if I get a similar question, it's like, that's a perspective maybe I hadn't thought of. So I always think that it's a great resource for us to have. And like you said, now with the technology, especially like with apps, and you can hook it up in your car anymore. It just automatically does some of those things, and you can listen to it anywhere and everywhere, and provide it. So it's a great it's a great resource for people to grow in their faith.
Yeah. I've even from the beginning, I thought of Holy Family Radio not just as a radio apostolate, but as a media one. Yeah. Because there was always streaming from a website available. And now that's just kind of enhanced. It's now offered in more outlets in a different ways now with video. So whether or not they want to see us or is another thing, right?
Well, people always say I have a face for radio, so now that doesn't work as well anymore if it's all going to be streamed. So
that's right.
But I think even too, coming out of the pandemic, of course, parishes had to be, very resourceful in how they could reach out to people.
Right.
And so I know at St. John's we still do stream our 10 o'clock Mass each Sunday, and then some of the other holy days and things like that, we'll make sure that those are streamed for people. And I get feedback on that people appreciate those kind of things. They have, parents or grandparents who maybe have some underlying health conditions or they just don't feel well that weekend. It's like, well, it's nice. And I know that there are a lot of different, through EWTN, you can watch it if you have that on your cable, you can watch Mass every day there, or I know people will get it from Notre Dame, from the Basilica at the University of Notre Dame, or the Basilica in DC. There's all kinds of different options, but there's something about kind of seeing your priest and seeing your parish that is a little bit more, I think, comforting, or a little comfortable for people to be able to work through that. So that is a great gift. It is. And it's something that without the pandemic, parishes would not have done that on their own, right? No. So many parishes are offering live feeds, and that I find that is a great blessing that has happened from that. Yes, I think so too. And so, I think it's one of so Catholic Radio becomes, kind of one of the pieces of the puzzle. What the parish can do with technology becomes one of the pieces of the puzzle. So it's always that, I think that idea that we can't just expect to do things the same old way. These technologies are available, and they can be used for good things, and they can be, as we know, they can be used for things that are not so good. So the more good presence we can put out, but people have to support it. So I'll give the phone number for you that they need to call 888-287-0655. 888-287-0655. They can also, I'm sure, give from the app. That's right. Or on the website. That's right. They can. FamilyRadio.fm. Because I know I was looking. There are other Holy Family radios in the world, believe it or not. Yes, there is. So there is a .com and a but this is .fm. So I finally found it. So that's very happy. Right. Oh, that's exactly right. It's right there at the very bottom. Oh, okay. The little heart right there. It says donate. Says donate. Perfect. So it'll take you right there. So and I'll put out a challenge, because hopefully the Parochial ministry at St. John's is meeting during this time. Okay. And so I'm hoping that they're able to listen. So I would challenge all of them to call in at least. I know you all have cell phones, so you can put down your knitting needles for just a little bit and make a pledge. So wonderful. 888-287-0655. That is 888-287-0655. So we talk about media, we talk about Catholic radio, we talk about all the kind of the technology things that are available. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things you've got going on in the parish, some of the good things that are happening that maybe get people more into their Easter season and that sort of thing. Okay. And, well, one of those would be the Parochial ministry. Okay. We do have a very dedicated group of ladies who will meet, and they provide those prayer shawls. We give them to families when there's baptisms, funerals, and to the sick or homebound or nursing homes. So that's always a wonderful issue. We have Bible study that goes on, a Catholic book study. These are all St. John's right now. Okay. And I'm more familiar with that because I'm really more involved in the day-to-day things that go on at St. John's. And we had wonderful Holy Week liturgies. People were very complimentary to those. So I think we were able to celebrate our faith and the resurrection of Jesus Christ in a wonderful way. So now we get to keep continuing that. So coming up, I know tonight there's rehearsal because First Communion is coming up Sunday at St. John's. And we were originally, both parishes were scheduled to go to the cathedral for a group confirmation in the spring, and those were canceled. So now we're going to be doing those in the parishes. That's coming up in a couple of weeks. I think May 7th is a Saturday. So we took the same day we were going to go to Toledo and just decided to do it at the same time and on the same day, just at home. So people don't have to drive as far. So those are some of the things that are we're getting ready for. Just I think like all parishes do, this is a kind of a busy time, and then we'll move into recognizing our high school graduates.
Yeah.
In May, and then moving into the summer. And also, too, the parishes have a joint school ministry, Holy Cross Catholic School.
Okay.
That is, it's not on either of the sites, either the parish sites. It's on its own site. It was one of the elementary school buildings for the city of Defiance, and they built a new elementary school. So there was one of those that was available. So the school moved into that. So
okay.
It's nice. I had Mass this morning with the kids, and every Wednesday we have Mass with them, and I stop out there a couple times during the week just to visit with them. And the preschoolers are always a wonderful. I always walk out of there feeling happier, I guess I would say, because they have such enthusiasm for everything, and then they always seem to put me in a better mood.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in a good mood, I'm in a better mood after that.
Right.
So that's a nice joint ministry. And as I mentioned too, the with St. Mary's, very involved, I think, with some of those social outreach type of ministries.
Okay.
I said through the food pantry. I think they're serving many families each and every month, and they get wonderful. The community is very, very supportive of that, so that's a great blessing to be able to have that. And the interesting thing was when I was one of my first years as a seminarian, I think it goes all the way back to the year 2000. I spent my first summer as a seminarian at St. Mary's in Defiance. Father Tim Coomer was the pastor, and just the facilities have changed so much in those 20 years. There was we used to be in the old rectory, was where the offices were, and the food pantry was in the basement. And I was talking with Deacon George Newton, who has been doing that for many years, and just talking about how they used to have kind of this little roller conveyor. And they would get boxes of food. You have to slide them down there and then stack them down there. And now they have this wonderful facility as part of the parish center where the offices are. They were able to build that, and it's just, I just look at that and say, oh my gosh, this is so, this is so great. And I was, those kind of things are important too. It's when you're doing those ministries, it says one thing if you're making people come down into a basement, to serve them. I know it's the facility you have, but when you have a nice, clean, new facility, it also says, I think that reflects the Catholic teaching on the dignity of the human person.
Sure.
And just because you may be in need of something doesn't mean that, you have to sneak down into the basement to get it. We've got a nice entrance, so we have a nice place to serve you. And so those are, and I said they do work with the Furniture Bank. Deacon John Weber at St. Mary's, he even had me when I was going out to the jail at Stryker at times, and so they're trying. That's one of those ministries too that are starting to, open back up or work on being able to go into, the nursing homes and things like that.
Right.
So we're slowly but surely being able to get some of those things back up and running. So I think every parish is probably kind of in that boat too. It's like, okay, the things that we used to do that got suspended because of the pandemic, now how do we get back into doing those?
Right.
So we're always looking for that. And then we're going to, during the summer, we have a YES program for the youth elect service. Yeah. So that'll be coming up, and then Vacation Bible School. So I just know those are a couple of the things on the on the calendar that'll be coming up soon over the summer.
Very good. When it comes to the parish you're at now, since the pandemic happened before you got there, do you have any sense or idea of people returning before and after? Mostly
I'm relying on staff to tell me, and it does seem like it's been slowly building, that we're seeing that. I think just some of that is anecdotal, that and I think from what I was told, we had good attendance on Ash Wednesday. That was kind of positive for people. It was just to see lots of people there again. It makes everybody feel better. You like to have a full church.
Yeah.
And even throughout Lent, it seemed that the numbers were slowly increasing. But there's always those fluctuations around spring break and things like that.
Yeah.
But again, Holy Week, both parishes, everybody's saying that there was very, very good attendance, especially on Easter Sunday too, that these may have been close to like pre-pandemic levels. So
good.
I know it's I've read very, everybody gives a shot in the dark on what is going to be the lasting impression, and I don't think anybody knows. And I know the thing that's been kind of interesting is everybody I think keeps waiting for everything to come back to normal. But I don't know. But nobody knows what normal is anymore. So,
yeah, that's true. We really don't know what normal is.
So I think we're now. Hopefully, maybe we're settling into the new normal.
Yeah,
and this is what it is. And we'll have to go from there. Right. So I think it also does give a great opportunity for the parishes. We've been asking a lot of that question is, okay, just before we say, we used to do this. It's like, okay, do we need to do that? Or is there some different way? Is there something that we've noticed that we do need to do that we weren't doing before? And is there something that, maybe that's not attractive? It's not helping people to grow in their faith. We need to rethink the best way to provide those type of things.
Right.
So I think that's the good opportunity that comes out of it, is it gives a chance to evaluate how the parish is proclaiming the gospel.
Right.
And that's what I'm hoping and trying to do is, to try and challenge both the parishes to start thinking in those terms too. It's like, okay, what do we need to do to proclaim the gospel better?
Right. And what do we need to stop doing?
Yeah. Or what isn't furthering that. So maybe we don't need to put resources towards that, or we can't just say, well, this is what we've always done it, so let's just keep doing it that way. Exactly. And that's not easy. I understand that, but I think this gives a good opportunity to do that.
Right. You're listening to the Spring Spirit Drive here on Holy Family Radio, 888-287-0655, 888-287-0655. The phone is ringing now. There are volunteers in the studio to take your call. There's another phone line that is open at 888-287-0655. That's 888-287-0655. There might be some mothers out there in the minivans on their way to pick up their kids from school, and this is like your normal time to tune in before we do the Divine Mercy at 3 o'clock. That won't be the case today, because we will have guests coming up as we always do throughout the 11 hours of live radio that we do each day. But if you're in the van, get your phone with you. You can take down this number and you can make a donation. $10, $20, $25, $40, $50. All of it adds up. It adds up and makes it and helps it possible that we might be able to continue to do this ministry. Okay, 888-287-0655.
And is it the same thing? No gift is too small.
No gift is too small. No gift is too large. Right? And I was talking this morning because I had to pay tax this year, the federal tax, and I was looking at the payment voucher. And I looked reading instructions. I'm an instructions guy. I read that stuff. Okay.
Good.
and so I'm skimming it. I'm looking at it. And it says, oh, by the way, the IRS cannot take checks larger than $100 million anymore. So if you owe more than $100 million in taxes, you have to write 2 checks.
Oh, and you will take a check for $101 million.
Absolutely, we will. And boy, could we do a lot of good with that.
There you go.
Okay. You know what? We'll share that with every single parish in our listening area.
Oh, okay.
If that would be the case. All right.
That's fantastic.
So we're
So if you've been waiting to write that $101 million check to somebody and the IRS won't take it,
that's right.
Send it to Holy Family Radio.
Send it to Holy Family Radio.
Call it 888-287-0655 right now.
Oh my gosh, it's fun. We like to have fun here, but it's serious fun. We're here for a really good cause, which is Holy Family Radio, and we've been on the air. We'll be celebrating 12 years this August. So it's we're not just newbies on the block here. We've been doing it for a long time, and we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to try and improve as much as we can. We're not professionals, but we pretend to be, and hopefully that. It's striking a chord with you, and you might sow a seed into this ministry. 888-287-0655. So, go ahead.
No, and one of the things I was thinking of, too, is that there's, and I do follow Bishop Robert Barron quite a bit on, some of his use of media.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that he talks about is the fact that he's trying to figure, and I think everybody's trying to figure this out, is this growth of those who claim no religious affiliation, the quote unquote nuns.
Yes.
And and that made me think of, well, how Catholic radio is, I think, can play an important part in that people, who you never know who's tuning in. And I know there's many times that Catholic Answers will ask for that. They want, atheists to call in with their questions, or they want non-Catholics to call in. So I think the ways that we can do that are very important. So, and this provides a great opportunity. And that, I guess there is that little bit of that anonymous. You never know who's listening, but you never know who's might listen to this, who then I might get to see on a Sunday.
Right. Exactly right.
That's the more question. Oh, wonderful. Okay.
He can't see that until I put it on the screen over here. I'll drag it over so you can see it then.
They want to know
why
you became a priest.
What? Okay, just calling in. Would like to know. Father David to share how he decided to be a priest. Oh, well, my hours. I mean, you had to ask me at 3:01 to share that story. No. I can give a very short kind of version to this. Well, I joked when I first came to St. John's. I told him a little bit about myself, and I said, I can't tell you everything, because I said I need 12 years of homily material, so you have to show up to hear all of the whole story. But one of the things was I didn't go to the seminary until I was 33 years old. So I was what they might call a delayed vocation.
Okay.
I studied at Mount St. Mary's in Cincinnati, and it ended up, it all worked out, God's providence, I guess you would say. But I grew up in a Catholic family. Probably when I was a kid, thought about being a priest, and then you hit about junior high, and other things start to catch your fancy. And so I always thought I'm the youngest of 7 kids. All my brothers and sisters married with children. I always, I figured that was what I would do. And looking back on it now, I can see that there was always something that I felt like I should be doing differently. So I went to school. I went to Ohio State. I have a degree in agriculture and turfgrass management, actually. So I worked on golf courses, some athletic fields, did some of that. Did that for a few years, and just didn't feel like there was something else I should be doing. Ended up going to grad school in turf. Did some also athletic field construction. I thought that might be something. So it was like I tried all these kind of different things in that career, and just wasn't right. Went to grad school, and it was after about a year or so of grad school, I started looking online. One night I was in the lab doing something, writing up some paper, and ended up with looking at seminaries. I'm like, I wonder if there's a seminary in Columbus. There is, the Josephinum, and I found a website for them. I'm like, I wonder what other seminary. And I can remember sitting at Mass at the parish I was at in Columbus, and during the homily just thinking, I think I could do that, and I don't think I'd be a complete and utter disaster at it. So I went to daily Mass later that week and talked to the pastor, and he invited me over. There were 3 priests in the parish at that time, but just like everywhere else, I think there's 1 now. There used to be 3, and so I went and had dinner with them, and one of them became pretty much my spiritual director and helped guide me through the process, and that's where it kind of started. And I can remember too asking, when I was thinking about going to the seminary, asking all my friends and some other people, just waiting for that person who would say, that's a stupid idea. What are you thinking? And I'm like, okay, that'll let me off the hook. And no one would say that. None of them would. They all said, oh, that's probably a good idea. I think that would be a good thing for you. And I'm like, oh, man. So eventually I did end up, but my thought was, and I did have someone that I knew, she was my youth minister in high school, say, oh, she said, I think that's a great idea. She said, I wish more guys would realize that the seminary is where you go to figure out if you're called to be a priest, not to just learn how to be a priest. And so that was, so I'm thinking that was good advice. So I went to the seminary and thought, if I ever feel like God's not calling me to this, I can leave with a clear conscience. But I said, if I didn't at least try, I probably would. If I was happily married and had a bunch of kids, I'd still wonder. It's like, wait, did I miss was God asking me to do that? And I just never really took the chance. Yeah. And so I took the chance, and I heard Father Scott Kramer before me talk about, there's never been a day that he wasn't happy to be a priest. I think in the seminary, there were days I didn't like being in the seminary, but there was never a day that I didn't feel like that was where I was supposed to be. And I can even say that I'm now 15 years ordained. There have been some days that have been tough, but there's never a day that I felt like this wasn't what God was asking me to do. So that's that, and that helps to give you confidence and joy. I think that helps bring joy to the priesthood. So hopefully, whoever called in, I hope that's a good enough answer.
I'm sure it is. I mean, that's so interesting. Now you're that beautiful mess that you are, right?
Well, there's something to say about that. Exactly.
Right? That's what we all are. We're just beautiful messes out there trying to do our best, and trust Jesus for the rest.
Exactly.
Right?
And I can remember, too, meeting with my very wise spiritual director, the older Jesuit priest over at St. Xavier High School in Cincinnati. And I was sitting there talking to him, and I was just like, I said, I just keep thinking about this. How am I ever supposed to know if I'm worthy to be a priest or not? And he looked at me and said, I can settle that for you right now. You're not worthy to be a priest. I'm like, okay. He says, but none of us are. So he said, that makes it so much easier. But I was like, okay, this guy, that's why he was very wise and why he was the spiritual director. Because he did. Yeah. It's like, in a way, that takes a lot of the pressure off.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. We think of it worthy. Who's worthy?
Yeah, exactly. So none of us are worthy to do what we're called to do. So, you have to rely on God's grace then. And I think I've learned that over 15 years of priesthood too, a little bit of that. Okay, it's not my church. It's God's church.
Right.
That whole idea. I think it was John the 23rd. They said used to say that. Jesus, it's your church. I'm going to bed. I'm tired.
You take care of it.
You take care of it now. So there are some days I feel the same way. It's like, okay, this is not. I've done what I can do. I think that's some of the advice they do too. They say, work as if everything depends on you, and pray as if everything depends on God.
Yeah.
So I try to follow that as well as I can.
Good. Yeah, that's good advice for sure.
Yep.
So now, 15 years being a priest, what's surprised you?
I think everything.
Everything? Okay.
Yeah, I do, I experienced this in a variety of ways. I've had a few different assignments over my priesthood already, and just how eager people are to kind of welcome you into their lives. That's a good reminder that it's not about me as a human being, but it's what God has called me to do. So, I remember the first weekend I was a pastor. I'd been a priest for 3 years, and there was someone, unfortunately, I think the man had a heart attack, and so I was at the hospital, and I get the call, and, they don't know me. This is my first weekend there, but they wanted the priest. They wanted the pastor. Yeah. And so it's a good reminder that, it's not about you and your personality. And I think that's always kind of a surprising thing that people, just walking in, the same thing in Defiance too. It's, you walk into a new parish, you're the new priest. People want to get to know you, but there is a certain, I guess, confidence they have in you from the very beginning that, okay, this is what you do. I want you here.
Yeah.
I want you to baptize my baby. I want you to have my wedding. I want you to bury my grandma. I want you to come to the hospital. I want you to go visit them in the nursing home, all those different things. And that just, reminds us that it's always a good reminder to me. It's like, no, that, when I come, I represent Christ. They don't want me there because it's me.
Yeah.
They want the priest there because he's the priest. And and he brings the consolation of the church.
Yeah. Yeah. That's advice that I've had to kind of play through my head sometimes. It's not about me. Yeah. It's not about me, about my feelings about it, what I think they think about me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm there to serve because they either need me or want me, and I just do your best.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, you could be there a couple hours and you get a call, and they don't care who it is. It's who you represent.
Exactly. Yeah. And somebody, it works. And I think I don't know if I'd say this is surprising, but it's always, I think, very edifying. The people of God have a great way of keeping you humble also in those ways.
Yeah.
And one example I can give is as I've changed assignments, if you have couples that you're working with in marriage prep, you have to talk to them about the fact that, well, your October wedding, I'm leaving July for, I'll be somewhere else July 1st, and I'm not, and I may have a wedding the place I'm going. So, and it's always been kind of interesting to me that at times couples that I thought I was working with who would be very kind of, sad that was the case. We're like, oh, okay, whatever the next, I'm like, wait a second. And then the ones that you think, well, it's not going to matter to them very much. The other one's like, no, really, you can't come back. We really want you to have. So like I said, I think it's either God or the people of God have this great way of keeping you kind of off balance that way too. As soon as you think you've figured it out, which is a good thing, that no, I don't have it figured out. Yeah. So as soon as you think you do, God has a way of reminding you, no, you don't. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so interesting. That is so interesting. Yeah, sometimes we try to make these judgments, don't we? And these decisions, just like, nope, we can be surprised every single time.
Exactly. Or as soon as, I find, God has a good way of humbling me that way too. As soon as I feel like, well, I'm, as soon as I get kind of full of myself that I'm doing this and I'm doing that and blah, 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 look how great I am. It's like, no, then you get the, then you get the thing that takes you down a couple notches. I said, no, it's not really about you. Just you be my representative. And that's I usually tell people that if they ever, compliment me on a homily or something like that, I say, well, I must have gotten out of the way and let the Holy Spirit work then, because that's usually the problem is I get in the way. I just need to get out of the way so that that God can work and work through me.
Right.
Not that I have to figure it out and show people how it works.
Amen to that.